Let's bring you today's stories. We begin from the financial sector, where the Bank of Ghana says the decision to close down 7 banks, though painful, was the best option to help clean up the mess within the banking sector. The second Deputy Governor, Elsie Awaji, spoke at the just-ended Joy Business Financial Services Forum held in Accra. The forum, organized by Joy Business under the theme, The Changing Tide of Ghana's Financial Sector, the cause, the cost and the cleanup, is aimed at bringing the regulator and stakeholders together to brainstorm on the ongoing reform in the financial sector. Second Deputy Governor, Mrs. Elsie Awaji, said the cleanup was very necessary to make the industry strong.
For the future, and in order that this economy also gets the resources needed to move forward. So what we've had to do in the recent past, over the last year and a half, has been difficult. It's been painful. But what we found as challenges that were plaguing our financial system, as a result of which we could not see the strength and the resilience that we wanted, had to be addressed one way or the other. There were a number of options that were open to anyone who was at the helm of affairs. The first option was do nothing and expect things to, solve, to be resolved by themselves, some way, somehow, magically, And that didn't seem to be a good option.
Mrs. Awaji disclosed that the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, has received enough documentation to allow them prosecute directors and all those who are responsible for the collapsed banks as the central bank continues to clean up. President of the Ghana Bankers Association, Al-Hassan Andani, noted the recent cleanup in the banking sector has rather ensured the safety of thousands of depositors. Mr. Andani said the cleanup measures should whip up confidence of the public in the financial sector.
So because banks are officially regulated and sort of supervised by the Bank of Ghana, our depositors were 100% protected. So if you have other operators in the industry who also deal with clients and they're not properly regulated, so those clients probably might suffer some losses, especially on the deposit side. The middle one, which is the asset, is for the banks to take the hit. If a bank creates a bad asset and cannot recover that asset, of course, its shareholders will lose the capital that they put into the business, they will lose whatever reserve they built in the business, and eventually probably lose the business, as we've seen with the fold-up of most of these financial institutions.
The high interest on loans has been a subject of concern for bank customers. Deputy Finance Minister Charles Edubuahin, on his part, said the establishment of the agency would help depositors make informed decisions.
And so that just tells you where the market is going, so now you can do your microfinance and microcredits via these kind of platforms, which requires very few bricks and mortars, and still be able to maintain an NPL ratio of under 10%, and we need to put in place the systems and the regulations to be able to guide this kind of new ways of putting credit into the system. So those are some of the policies that we are very keen to support and encourage. We're also very keen to support issues about setting up a credit rating agency so that people can start pricing their loans appropriately.
In a related development, the Bank of Ghana says it will soon close down savings and loans companies and microfinance institutions that are challenged and are unable to pay depositors' finance. Elsie Awaji says government is almost through with an agreement with the World Bank to secure some funding to pay back customers who might lose their deposits. That was Eben Sabute's report read to you. So after much hype, the Joy Business Financial Services Forum is over, but the conversation has just started. Joining me is Joy Business researcher Philip Namfori, who was there at that event. Great event it was.
Lovely, fantastic.
Yes,
I like the word you use.
Yes, it lived or outlived the hype.
Yes, no, Daryl, it was just too good. Very good discussions, good panelists, good discussions, a good audience, a good crowd, good questions. It was just, like a better word, lit.
All right. And so what were the highlights for you? What were the sticking points?
Okay, so we had the Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Edubuahin. We had the deputy governor, second deputy governor, and we had Mr. Alassane Ndani. He's the president of the Ghana Bankers Association. Each of them gave good points. We also had some other discussants, also like the CEO of Daylex Finance, Ken Thompson. Well, for me, I'll start with Charles Dubahin. That's the second deputy minister of finance, and he spoke about the money that's coming from the World Bank to support the depositors of the savings and loans institutions when the cleanup gets to that sector. We've seen the cleanup in the banking sector. We're going to see it in the savings and loans and the microfinance. That's the non-bank financial institution sector. Why would the World Bank want to step in? The non-bank financial institutions, savings and loans, microfinance, fall under what we call microfinance. And that's a pro-poor intervention or policy supposed to provide credit to the poor or the needy in society. So, you know, World Bank is focused on pro-poor interventions and policies. So, of course, they want to step in to make sure that that sector, its depositors are not hit as bad as it would if they weren't in. So, I'm sure going forward, we should see some, from what we're gathering, $150 million going to help depositors of that sector.
All right, so there were 3 areas tackled, policy, regulation, and practitioners. What can you say about those 3 areas? Because we got stakeholders from those areas as well.
Very good. So I'll start with the policy. That was the Minister of Finance, Deputy Minister of Finance. He just assured us that the government is going to put in the right measures to ensure that the financial services sector is on a strong footing. Yesterday in our discussion, we mentioned the budget, the 2018 budget, where they highlighted some things that we're going to make sure that our financial services sector is strong. From the practitioner side, that will be Mr. Alassane Ndani, even Mr. Ken Thompson, CEO, he runs Daylex Finance. He also says, Mr. Alassane Ndani also says, the banking sector is safe. And he made a very good point. He says 80% of the loans in the sector are given by 20% of the banks. And these banks are strong. He used the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. 20% of the banks in the sector are giving 80% of the loans. And these 20%, from the president of the Ghana Bankers Association, he says they are strong banks. There's nothing for us to worry about. Then with regards to regulation, we had the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana. She says Bank of Ghana is going to go hard on institutions. Henceforth, they're going to enforce all their directives, especially the corporate governance, and fit and proper to the letter. They're not going to more or less do this with somebody else and try and treat other people fairly. No. Everybody's going to experience the same thing in order to put the sector on the strong footing. All
right, let's talk a bit more about the Q&A session and the issues that came up. What were the issues of concern to people?
Okay, so there was this question that came up about moral hazard. And essentially to explain that, I'll use an insurance example. If you go and get your car insured, you know that you've paid a big premium, comprehensive insurance, and you go and drive your car down the road and you mess it up. The insurance company will give you back your money. That's essentially what moral hazard is. In banking, if they give you money for a loan and you go and deal in something else other than the purpose than which you took the loan, that's moral hazard. So the person who posed the question, she's a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Fiado, and she says, what are they going to put in place to make sure that, okay, if banks go down again, or banks will not take risky practices, so that next time they're like, okay, if I go down, Bank of Ghana will come and help me out. And that's when the governor assured us that, the deputy governor assured us that all is going to be ordered because they're going to put their foot on the ground.
All right, and the Bank of Ghana sought to whip up the confidence of the public in the banking sector, and we have been doing some polling ourselves to gauge the level of confidence. What were the results of the poll?
Okay, so from the poll we put out yesterday, we had 100 votes, and the question was, have you lost confidence in the entire financial system as a result of the banking sector challenges? And 54% said no, and 46% said yes.
54% looks quite good.
Yes, quite good. From 100 people, quite good. And even in the forum, we asked the question. George Wafe, our moderator, asked the question, and everybody said yes. There's some confidence in the sector. And I'm sure going forward, with the right regulatory approach, we should see that the confidence will come back. Yes, it has dipped or waned a bit because of the challenges, but going forward, the regulator is assuring us, or all regulators are assuring us that all will be well.
All right. Whilst 54, is it 54?
54% said no.
It looks good, but there are still the 46% who are really not.
Yes, but
why do you think they're losing confidence? You know, the issue about the media and how we've treated this also came up.
It came up there too. Some of the discussants and panelists weren't too happy with some of the issues that they say we report on. So, for example, if we have gathered some information that a bank might go down, they, from what I gather, will prefer that we hold on to such information, because when you put it out there, people seem to rush, panic, call their MDs asking, is it your bank that's going down? Is it this bank that's going down? So from what I gathered from some of these panelists, they want us to bridge the gap or strike a fine balance between our reporting and then the financial system.
And we're really getting some good feedback from people who followed the discussion on radio and on our Facebook platform. We just want to pull up some of the social media comments for you and what people had to say about the discussion that got underway in the morning. This one from Adjoa Boatin said, the auditors of these failed banks must be held accountable as well. What kind of independent audit reviews were they providing? And we've got the Association of Auditors also coming in to say at a point that we have to review the work that was done by auditors, because some of these banks that went down had good books in quotes.
And Darryl, if I can just interject here, during the submissions, the Deputy Minister of Finance made mention of the fact that he was surprised that some audit firms or accounting firms had their names as auditors in the books of some of these banks that went down. And he also agreed with the fact that, yes, we need to really check the auditors.
Great. Let's just pull up one more comment, if you will, just to gauge the views of people. This one said, what happens to the board members and the management of the financial institutions that have gone under? We had the central bank talk about the fact that the IOCO was receiving some documents of a sort, and that we're going to deal with the directors if and when they have evidence to prove that they maybe mismanaged things at the bank.
Absolutely right, Darryl. Absolutely right. The Deputy Governor says names have been forwarded, and in due course, prosecution will take place and people will be brought to book.
All right. Thanks very much indeed,
Thank
Philip Namfori, bringing us the latest from the Joy Business Financial Services Forum. We are not done yet, because some news about Menzgold also came up. Deputy Minister of Finance Charles Edubuahing disclosed that government has nothing to do with the gold dealership firm Menzgold. He says the operating license of the company has been revoked by the Securities and Exchange Commission, making it a non-existent firm. Mr. Edubuahing was responding to a question from participants at the just-ended Joy Business Financial Services Forum in Accra.
Understand, Menzgold came under the SEC regulations, and what they were doing was considered to be trading, and they did not have a license to trade. So in the current capacity of what they were doing, their license has been pulled, and they have not been able to provide any proof and evidence of why it should be reinstated. So as far as I'm concerned, from what I understand from the SEC, they are not allowed, or they do not have a license to trade and therefore indulge in the business that they were doing. However, nothing prevents them from paying depositors back their money.
Meanwhile, second Deputy Governor Elsie Awaji has been defending the decision by government not to bail out customers of the gold dealership firm. She noted that customers who went ahead to do business with the company did that at their own risk.
The activities of Menzgold and on what we felt, what our advice to the public, we did that. And we also stated that anybody who dealt with them did that at their own risk. Now, the matter is in court, and I won't say more about it, because as you know, Menzgold has the Bank of Ghana and the SEC in court over the current state. And so we'll leave it to the judges to deal with. But let me just say that we had issued ample public notices about it.
All right, so that was the second Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Elsie Awaji. We are taking a short break. We'll bring you more news after this break. All right, welcome back to Business Live. In other news tonight, the Ghana Association of Industry says local manufacturing industries have agreed to comply with the tax stamp policy despite initial cases of stiff opposition. Now, CEO of the association, Seth Chumakwawa, tells Joy Business local manufacturers are now focused on best ways of getting the tax stamp on their products. There's more in this report. The AGI had earlier raised concerns over the seizure of products and subsequent shutdown of defaulting factories by the GRA. But speaking to Joy Business at the Q4 of the CEO's breakfast meeting organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, Chief Executive Officer of the AGI, Setchu Makwabwa, explained that local manufacturing firms are now resolved to comply with the directive.
We've gotten to the stage where we are all making effort to try and make it work. So that is the stage we've reached, and I think this kind of consultations and discussions helps to bring issues to perspectives. We've always made a point that industry is not against the tax stamp, because if it works well, it works to the benefit of industry as well. Because when people bring goods and under invoice and under declare the values, they don't pay the right taxes, and therefore they can actually sell their products at a much lower price to the disadvantage of the local manufacturers. You are competed out of your own market. So we think that the tax stamp has its own advantages.
The Food and Beverage Association also raised concerns earlier over the manner in which the GRA Task Force conducts its tax stamp compliance exercise. But the special advisor to the GRA argues the mode of exercise by the Special Task Force has legal backing.
It wasn't bullish. It depends on how you look at it. As the law says that goods must not be delivered out of your factory without a tax stamp. So what we did was to ensure that before products leave your factory, they have the tax stamp. It was important to send that message, right? So right now what we've done is that for now, we've asked them to move from the factory gates, because we were doing 24-hour enforcement, and to go to the shopping malls. They have also appealed through the AGI that, yes, they are complying. They need their time, and this is their peak season. So whilst we haven't said yes, we want them to think or to have the idea that any time, right, we can come on them, and so it will be in their best interest to comply. It's a strategic approach that we have adopted.
All excisable products, including cigarettes and other tobacco products, alcoholic beverages, non-alcoholic and carbonated beverages, bottled water, textiles, and other selected category of products determined by the Minister of Finance are expected to all have affixed on them the tax stamps. The Ghana Beyond Aid agenda is not just political talk. That's assurance from Information Minister Designate Kojo Nkrumah, who says plans are far advanced to give the initiative a legal backing. He made the revelation at the two-day strategic marketing conference organized by the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana. Here's more.
There have been concerns from a section of the public that government is not showing much commitment to the much-touted Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, which seeks to move the country to an era of self-reliance. But according to the Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah, plans are far advanced to provide the initiative with a legislative framework. He's urging the public to make a conscious effort to contribute to its success.
The Ghana Beyond Aid agenda, one, requires all stakeholders to play various roles, including professionals in the marketing space. And one of the things that the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda does is that it pushes us to focus a lot more on trade and productivity. And when you're talking about trade and productivity, and you're talking about your ability to, open up international markets so that you're also able to get your products out there, it's a challenge to all of us. The Senior Minister will present the charter to Parliament, and Parliament will approve it. But the framework is what we've already been working with. So you'll see a budget that is still hinged on that same paradigm, that we want as much as possible to raise enough domestic resources to fund the priorities of the country.
Mr. Nkrumah spoke to Joy Business at the CIMG two-day strategic marketing conference. It brought together policymakers, captains of industry, marketing practitioners, and a critical mass of thought leaders to discuss how to upskill the country's national development agenda. One of the discussants, Philip Okulu, who is also the country manager of Ipsos Limited, a global marketing research company, urged local companies to allocate a portion of their budget towards research.
When you put together your budget or your plan for 2019, as an example, allocate some funds to learning more, knowing a little bit more about the market, about the consumers, about the people that you're targeting with your product or your service. Then your product will be better, then you will sell more, and then that will make the company sustainable in its strategy. But any organization, I believe, must at least make the effort to know whether or not its product or service is working for the people they intend to sell it to.
On his part, marketing communications expert Andrew Aka called on appropriate authorities to increase their efforts in dealing with unauthorized mounting of billboards in the country.
Billboards is a nuisance, not just billboards, posters, banners, and all of them. They're nuisance because they are not the right place to advertise, especially with the banners and then with the stickers. If you check all interchanges and all around, they've been, pasted everywhere. It is not right. It is not within the law. That is not the place to do that. So the authorities would have to be up and coming.
Thursday's section of the CIMG Strategic Marketing Conference is expected to host 3 other experts on the sub-themes technology or digital marketing, Ghana Beyond Aid, getting it right, logistics and channel management for driving Ghana Beyond Aid. Bismarck Ewusa's report for Joy Business.
Well, that report ending our bulletin tonight. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can get to read all about the Joy Business Financial Services Forum. That is news coming out of there, plus the day's other business news stories. My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for watching. We're back same time tomorrow.